two themes, because this is a wonderful combo of where we are mixing human intelligence with technology. Yes, AI is technology. So there's nothing new about it. So I want to start with two friends meet, and one of the guys says, "I'm quite worried. Would I lose my job to AI?" The other friend says, definitely you will not lose your job to AI. So this other guy says, "How do you know I will not lose my job to artificial intelligence?" And this guy explains, only jobs which require intelligence. If that job required intelligence, you will lose your job to AI. If your job did not require, you will not. And he will still be wondering, why did you say that? He said, definitely you will not lose your job. That is about AI. The second piece is about, like the inter or multi-generation. So there was a tribal person in the Amazon jungle. There was a granddad or a grandpa going with a grandson. And the grandson was in a hurry. And the grandson said, "Grandpa, I can walk very fast. I can even run." So the grandpa tells in a very subtle manner, "You may run fast, but I know the forest more than your years on the planet." So that is multi-generation. So how do you mix the best of artificial intelligence and human intelligence, as well as how do you leverage various generations together? So that is what. And what are we going to do? One chair is missing. That chair is the artificial intelligence chair. And I'm going to be the moderator. That's my top-notch role. So I'll be moderating moderately, and I will also take part of that chair role also. So wherever required, I will add on to some stuff, what is required, or some nuances that we are doing. Just to give you the background, we have just signed a deal with OpenAI, or rather they have signed a $300 billion deal. It's one of the world's largest deals. So we love to look at AI as an essential. It is not a option anymore. So my first question is about, to the panel, is about AI. Would it create, because we have different generations. I come from the silent generation onwards down to the beta generation. Beta generation would be at the most 7-8 months old. So they are going to be the future. And how do you think AI would that be a bridge across generations, or AI is going to create barriers? So what are your personal views?
So when you say that, you said the grandfather, I see that happening on the floor. I just happened to ask, so this was essentially on IT engineering solutions, and the way we put it to the clients are engineering powered by AI. That's the kind of pressure that comes back on enabling me also for us to walk the talk. And my intent and spirit, everybody says that we put a solution together and such as we can offer it as a use case to clients. But that's not easy, as much as it is said, because of the investment. We were talking, so in fact our session started much before this session. So we were talking, so we talked about startup experience. I have been part of the startup and I've been optimizing. So from the people and culture standpoint, observing this on the ground, I can narrate an example. I asked one of the leaders, how are you, what's happening? AI is happening, कुछ तो AI में करना है. कुछ तो is very out of concern. It's out of, because if I don't do anything about it, I may be in one of the list. They like me or not. They like me as a person. I can be out of the list. That was what reflected, and that pressure reflected in the life. And when you talk about on the other side, we have had freshers, more dentists, engineers, trainees, trainee engineers. So on the other side, we have been harping a lot on agents, agentic AI mindset, creating 500, 600 agents and so on. Now, ironically, just as we are saying, some of that thing is visibly, showing up in the mix, in our employee mix also. When we asked to create agents, our freshers were quick enough to do that because they didn't carry any baggage of what to not do or what to do versus people like the one I referred to said that, kuch to karna hai. So coming back to the point and referring to some of the notes we also said that both these groups, while one group's, not that all our freshers are quick enough to create agents, at the same time not all our leaders are a little jittery about this AI subject. So there is a mixed crowd we are operating with, and as a people and culture it concerns me, and the intent is to bridge that gap. So in the mix of both kind of groups as such, there is a need for us to leverage one another and complement one another, the one who has. So there is a possibility of it to extend that gap if not addressed. If somebody like me in my capacity do not make note of it. But if there is an intent to bridge that, because you need to walk the talk before you offer it to the client, there is a lot needed on the ground for us to talk the same language. Therefore, it's lot for this portfolio who is in a unique position and has an opportunity to bridge this. I think never before had, with the years of experience, I don't think people and culture have had this powerful a portfolio to make or break the mix and the mindset.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I think what I would like to say as is, so I've been hearing multiple conversations, right? In fact, today also there are multiple panels all talking about AI. Is it a boon? Is it a bane? There's so much of confusion, there's so much of fear. I want to take a step back. Let's think about, because I'm a huge history buff. I like to see patterns in history. If you take out your history books, use ChatGPT to see it. From the invent of time, right? You go back to printing press invention, you go back to railways. I was just telling them that when railways were invented, it was called the devil's engine, right? And doctors used to write subscriptions to humans saying that if the train moves more than 30 miles per hour, human beings are going to suffocate and die. Right? So there's hysteria there as well. Then, electricity, again, huge hysteria. You should not be using fire, you should not be using electricity. Cut to airplanes, right? When the aircraft was invented, the Wright brothers were ridiculed by an article in the New York Times, right? And it was specifically mentioned that it's going to take millennia for human beings to fly. Cut to 10 years later, World War I. It was not just human beings flying, there were soldiers being transported, right? Cut to now, families, everybody, we cannot imagine a time where aircrafts were not used. Similarly, when the internet came, when calculators came, the computer came, right? There was a similar hysteria that was there. I like to bucket it into two functions, or sort of three parts, right? One, there is always, whenever there's something new that happens in technology, there's always ridicule is the first step for humanity, right? We are always going to make fun of it, there's going to be fear about it, how are we going to sort of include it in our workflow and all of those things. Second is resistance. We are right now at the resistance mark, right? Because all of us, at some level or the other, are pretty afraid of including it. That fear might come as, it may be because, oh, I'm not used to this. Oh, how is it going to happen? How do I include it in my workforce? What if I make mistakes? What if I do something which is wrong? And again, there's also a lot of peer pressure, right? Because everybody's talking about AI. Everybody wants to do something in AI. But how do we do it? Nobody's asking that question. Nobody's answering that question. Right? And the third is that technology becoming inevitable. Right? It's actually, we talked about it. It's Moravec paradox in play. Right? AI or the tools that we invent are inevitably good at things that human beings are not good at. It's as simple as that. Whatever AI tools or technology that we are using, right, it is just an extension of us. We are thinking in, let's say, X, the ChatGPTs of the world, the Geminis of the world, they are helping us to think in 10x. It's making us faster. Whatever khichdi jargon, like the previous panel talked about this, right, is going on. If I have 10 different things that I want to sort of figure, I can ask my tool, ChatGPT tool, to sort of simplify that for me, provide a structure to that, and do all of this in 30 minutes of my day. Right? I am not wallowing in my own thoughts. I am not thinking about it too much. I'm not sort of being bothered about it, but you can complete it in the next 30 minutes. So that's the game changer. I think rather than having a conversation of which generations are being able to use it or not, I think the conversation should always be towards how has it become a level up, right? Because knowledge now is not just limited to books, it's not limited to the internet, it's not limited to experience. Of course, experience is always going to matter because like everybody, people have been saying this over and over again, it's of course, at the end of the day, your AI agents are agents. They don't really have the human experience, right? So it's our job to bridge that gap. It's our job to ensure that, let's say people who are from a little older generation, if I may say without sounding disrespectful, can we make bite-sized sort of, tools for them? Can we have such sessions for them where, we can openly talk about it without any judgment? As HR leaders, it's our job.
Thank you, Rasmia. So, just to summarize the first question, what I want to say is, see, we have all in different stages of generation, different stages of career, and how do we, leverage the stage that we are? Because normally we talk about, we actually discount. Normally we start with the baby boomers, who are 1962, 1965 kind of ending. We don't even talk about silent generation. They are the 40s, people who are born in the 1940s. However, many of them are still working. You would have read about one Brazilian, he's working in the same company for the last 75 years. He's in his 90s now, joined as a teenager. So they are there. Just like the term silent generation, they are quite silent. And so they are supposed to be digitally agnostic, or they are a bit scared, fearful about technology and AI in particular. Plus, the issue is also the new frameworks and also the threat or loss of their job. And then we come to the baby boomers who may be somewhere in between of the digital divide. Then we have the Gen X, Gen Y or the millennials, and as we pass through the continuum, we expect the Gen Z especially to be digitally fluent. However, today there is a term, it's called the AI paradox or the AI shaming. It's like body shaming. We are AI shaming because the Gen Z are supposed to be at the forefront of technology. And however, more of the training is focused towards older generations. You go to a company and you look at the structured formal trainings, they are for the older generation. So, and the younger generations don't get trained in them. But the thing is, as HR, we need to devise stuff which caters across all generations, and where we can tap onto the unique DNA of each generation. Like you are Gen Z, you are great at creative thinking and less lesser on strategy thinking, whereas a baby boomer, they are much more on strategic thinking and maybe a bit lesser on creative thinking. So how do we leverage this unique combo? That is what we need to look at, and the generations should help us move out of silos. And how do we create more of that bonding, belongingness across generations? And I would say age is just a number. Age matters only if you're wine or cheese. For all the rest, it's fine. And the future is going to be maybe you work till your death. Because though they say it's 60 or 65, the retirement age in most companies, but we'll see all the strategic roles or the most dangerous jobs where people have the nuclear button. They will all be in their 75 and 80s, and they are doing well. They can also do a good job. So the future is going to be, you will have maybe 10 generations in your company working together, from teenagers to 80 and 90 years old. How do we take everybody along? That is what we should enable AI to do that. Before we reach that point of singularity, I don't know how many of you know the technical word of singularity. That's the phase when AI will take over HR. AI will direct HI what to do. So, quite dangerous, but my second question to the panelist is about what is HR role when you implement AI? What are some tips or tricks or things like that, to make AI free of bias, free of because AI is as good as the humans behind it. Still now we are not reached the point of singularity. So how can HR ensure a fair framework for everybody? What do you think?
So I take a cue from a lot of these questions and a lot of the discussions that we are having, and when I introspect on the ground, I'm also doing the same mistakes. And we realize that when Alex mentioned about the content being done for older generations and lesser for younger generations, or maybe the same content is force-fed on the younger ones, because the person on this side who's creating the content is also from the older generation. So that line of thinking has not seeped in so much, because we don't really look at whom you're creating the content for and what is the absorption rate. Now if I have to take the real-time scenario of just as this panel, I haven't discussed Alex with about his years of experience, must be much more than what we are. But if you look at me and I happen to understand, she's been in the industry for 13 years and I've been in the industry for 23 years. Now when we were talking, the kind of vibes she resonates with the Gen Zs was quite closer than for me. So she said that when the Gen Z speak, I feel that I see myself in them. And therefore the whole excitement and absorption level is so quicker for her, versus maybe it is little more and more the Gen Zs. But for me, I was sharing an open secret that though I am supposed to be, and incidentally in a company that is saying powered by AI, but I have my own reservations somewhere. I'm also finding it difficult to really understand. So many nodes, so many POVs read, but I may be internally struggling because maybe it's a personality style, or maybe it is the time we operated. We are the people who like to feel the thing, do it yourself, and then we start owning it. Yeah, I know AI. But that time and period is not available with all of us. While my daughter is 13, anything you say, they are like with the Google on and they find themselves so confident about, I know this is this. That is the kind of gap and blockage that probably this mindset is, this generation will be carrying, versus there is a layer to layer gap. And what I realize is, I look at two instances again back into my real-time operating. I had a need to really vibrate or create a vibrative content for my town halls. And we were struggling for a long time to create that energy. And in the pyramid mix, we've got a lot of pressures. You know, that we used to have a lot of town hall attendance from these senior folks, leads, managers, but ELTs are missing. And we really figured out what is the need, why is it not getting really, participation is not so much. That's not engaging for them. The content was not engaging. And people here are all experienced, all of us, and we broke our head, trying to make it all that fancy. But what change we did is I put a Gen Z on the job to create the content. And that is so passionately picked up. I'm not worrying about it at all. So it is so vibrating, so colorful. Somebody is dancing in the live, static mode also. That's the difference what I felt training Gen Z, creating and handing over that task. So I'm seeing it real time. And therefore, I now come back to the point of taking this. There's still an action for us to do. I see the difference in both these groups. For me as a person, I think there has to be trust and transparency in the way I'm educated. For me to make felt that for the Gen Zs or the ELTs or the freshers, ease of use is what matters. So my curriculum and content for these two groups will have to be different. Honest acknowledgement, we have not tapped onto that. The size of companies, we're all looking at the tangible things which leads to revenues, except for companies like Redington, he was here, companies like Oracle. They have this luxury to pick up this with the ecosystem which is already there. And so there has to be conscious effort in the day-to-day affair to bridge this gap. In my reference to the old leader, and we have to consciously bring this out in the culture. What we are doing today is we're creating agentic AI dynasties. There again we wanted to message on the ground that the freshers can create agents. You don't need to have all the experience and technology. It can be in a NLP form and you create agents. That was what. But the second bit what we did is we created a combination of a senior and the junior. And in the process, there is a cross-leveraging of both that level of people. And probably the one who is senior, who learns in the process and sees the ease and, the person on the other side benefits with the wisdom that comes along. So that's one small effort without a high capital investment in our RPA in a culture setting that we could do.
That's beautiful. Actually, that's exactly what we do at Law Student Media as well. Because we are a very lean team. The workforce is not extremely huge. And we're also geographically quite diverse. So, what has helped is, and I think I'm also going to take another step back and I'm going to add leadership style also to this. Right? Because what I feel is, and again, this is something that I have seen happening when I was probably, I had 2 or 3 years of experience. The leadership that was part of those companies was sort of very non-approachable, right? They had their own cabins, they had their own air. It was a cat and a mouse situation, my situation, right? Like the boss is coming in, everybody's getting scattered. If you've seen Devil Wears Prada, right? When she comes in, struggling to go onto their desk and just showing that you're afraid. I think for now, the generational shift that has happened, we need to make that change of the leadership being much more available and inclusive of the ideas that are coming from other different generations. That's the only way where you can bridge that gap that we keep talking about. Like for example, the reason why I said that I see myself in them is because I love having conversations with them, right? Because they bring so much of energy, and passion is infectious, right? When you meet people who are passionate about something or they are high creativity folks, you sit with them and even your ideas start flowing, right? Because passion gets passion. Energy needs energy, and it sort of increases over a period of time, right? There's a compounding situation that's happening there, right? But if you all are working in silos, if there are, like you mentioned, right? If there are multiple silos in an organization, it becomes very difficult to break those silos, right? How do you then even go about and bring that culture of change. Then again, you have to go through the entire plethora of change management, right? Which is again, all of us HR leaders know it's a big headache, right?
Yeah.
So A is, I think we need to, our leadership styles need to be more elevated. We need to be more approachable. We need to be more open to ideas and then implementing those ideas, right? And the second thing is, I think right now we are at that stage where we can't blame, like for example, somebody from talent acquisition once told me that my AI ATS rejects most of the good candidates. It's the AI's fault. If as an HR leader you come to me and say that, I'm not going to question the AI, I'm going to question you, right? Because then you have that problem of not auditing your AI tools. You have to sit with the AI tool, look at the algorithm, see what's going wrong, and then fix it, right? So continuous audit, I feel, is also another sort of thing that all of us as leaders need to inculcate. It's not just about doing those annual audits or system audits, but also our agentic agents, our AI tools need those audits as well.
Thank you.
So I think it's not just specific interventions we can call out. These subtle aspects of where HR is responsible is also accountable for the change that we have.
So on a lighter note, I want to say it is okay. I think it's being recorded that you love talking to Gen Z.
Yes, absolutely.
But you have to always look at your promotion is based on some Gen X or baby boomer promotion hikes and bonuses.
But I never negated that I don't like talking to the boomers.
So that is one part. Second is there was a real life incident, about hiring. The ATS not. So there was a hiring manager of a Fortune 100 company. He was not getting any suitable candidate, and he put his own resume and applied for the job. He also got rejected. Then they looked at the bias in the system. So it is important, just to summarize, that HR role in AI would be first is have a human in the loop system. The human should have that overriding or overarching authority on the AI, and look at the 3 E aspects, which I don't think AI can ever take over. What are the 3 E's? Emotions, ethics, and empathy. AI will always be lagging behind human beings or that. So we have to understand that. The third is, like I think Sneha mentioned, have those bias audits on a regular basis, and how do we do that? Look at the algorithms behind, what are the parameters on which we have created, and look at the end, it is all about auditing yourself and upending your systems. And as HR, we need to create that AI strategy should be embedded within our overall HR strategy, and most importantly, being inclusive. So my next question, maybe this time I'll start with Sneha, because I want her to talk more to Gen X. So my question to you is, how do you think AI can be personalized in the employee journey? Because today we look at design thinking is great on the field, and it is relevant for HR, employees, etc. And it starts with customer empathy and persona building. So how do you think AI can be personalized to manage the employee life cycle and various actions during the hire to retire process?
I think A is in each of these stages. AI intervention is good. It's good to have. It saves time, but it's also not extremely necessary. I'm going to be the devil's advocate, because when you, and this is my personal experience as well, because when during onboarding as well, right, when a senior leadership or when there is somebody that is talking to you through the process, right, and you've been extremely transparent about how everything is going to look like step by step, there's a more humane connection to it. People are able to understand the process a little bit more. They are able to understand the nuances. They are able to build that trust not just in the organization but also to come to you as a leader. Because and this is my personal belief, right? I think as HR leaders, it's also our job to ensure that even each and every individual, no matter what hierarchy, what ranking, what designation, should be able to come to us and have a conversation. That can only happen when we have taken the time, the effort to break the ice and create those barriers. That starts from here. Right? I mean, it's good to have that, when you're onboarding and for all your mundane tasks, you automate that. Right? Everything else that needs human intervention, that should not be automated, and that's just what my thinking is. Right? I mean, and even when once somebody has onboarded and they're doing their training cycles, rather than somebody sitting and doing that with them. Of course, we do have those mentor-mentee sessions as well. But then, for example, if I am hiring somebody in a sales team, if they're just seeing that pitch and not able to sort of ask questions, how is it helping them? There's a lot of context also that is, right? So I think it's going to be, and it has to be, the perfect marriage that people talk about. It's a list of both.
Thank you. Over to you, Sangeeta.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing those not so AI aspects also. But at the same time, some of these aspects like giving that connection to the different and the personalized effort is through our human element. While a lot of these mass these IT services organization, they are like group size. We've grown to 2,300 and 5,000 integration and all. Now there are some aspects of it which we cannot do in a manual effort or so, which is where we see AI can be leveraged for career path linked learning maps. Or we also have a culture. I have brought this into practice. Of course, everybody says we have to become a data-driven organization. I have the habit of taking notes when I'm talking to every individual in that batch of 15 who join us. What are their passions and all. So eventually, I would want this data to be leveraged to nudge them and tell them that I know you're a cricket fan, and I would like you to be part of the cricket club. Now today I do a manual check, and eventually I would want some AI to read that through those search strings and find out and give that template or push that note to the guy. And whenever we talk about a person, about themselves, not about the role or account, and you talk about, oh, you like cricket, oh, you like acting, you see the spark in their eyes. And that spark I would like to ignite, touching the part of a side of an individual which is not very professional, but that makes the person feel a sense of belonging. That is from a very software aspect. The second part is on the technical, so that will ensure I help them, elevate themselves from time to time depending on the tracks they belong to. Either they are QB track or they are into data. So my job will be to put the program in place and align that agents to create those nudges in an auto form. Is how I would like to.
Thank you. So the future of AI is going to be personalization and as well as conversational AI. So when you are with AI, you should just feel like you're talking to your spouse without argument. And talks only the nice things. We're all happy then. And gamification and also chatbots and stuff like that. That's going to be the future, how we're going to integrate things. I have two quick questions. I'll take it in more rapid fire round. So the next question is about how do you think AI can create great high-performing teams or HPTs? Any strategies on that? AI and HPTs.
HPTs
High-performance teams.
you already okay. So again, I think we need to leverage our data, and there are some softer aspects, I call them hard skills, which a person doing good constantly need those nudges, and hard skills or the rituals are in form of appreciation. So you need to really have a database in which ways you encourage something doing well and send nudges to, if I'm a manager and if I have a way to identify I manually cannot think about how my team has been doing or where. We realize when we do your co-pilot kind of reminds you, you may want to respond to this which you have not. Something like that has to work for your team, and there has to be an agent which keeps nudging you. So, yeah.
I think similar. I think all of us collectively need to love data. We need to fall in love with data, right? Because there is no other storytelling that is more important than what data is telling. Right? I mean, gut instincts and everything aside, I think data is the mother of everything else that happens in an organization. That being said, I think the mapping that you mentioned, that is extremely important. Having talent cards in place and updating them on a regular basis, which is again something that the leaders have to decide. How do you do that, and how do you sort of bring AI into that picture, right? Like for example, now we are sort of fiddling with getting productivity tools on board, right? And there are also a lot of AI agents who do that. And there are some beautiful models out there in the market, right? Who not just tell you what you are currently good at, but also does a predictive analysis of what you might be good at and you might want to look at, right? And if these things can be brought into the picture for every organization, I think it's also going to change the game for talent tracking as well.
Thank you. So what I wanted to also follow a different model for the team management skills, because it starts with behavioral analytics. What is the kind of behavior a team member operates in, let's say Slack or Teams or any of the collaborative tools. And then we go on to something called the NLP, natural language processing. What has he put in his self-appraisal? What is the 360-degree feedback he's getting? So on top of that, we also put something called skill engine. What are his certifications? What are his competencies? How are his behavioral competencies, etc., etc. And we top it with predictive analytics, what many of the dating sites use. So which kind of teams will work good with what kind of leaders, what kind of complementary and supplementary adjunct skills are required. So put all that put together, we have some great teams. And today, a talent engine, AI-based talent engines are available. You can just use a site called Saber, SABERR, or Humu. You should just try these two sites and put name of 10 people with the data. It will choose who will be the best coach for who can be reverse mentor. You just put a skill. My last question, it's a one-liner. When you end, I'll only take a one-liner.
One word answer, sorry.
Yeah, only one word. What do you think is the takeaway for AI in the future?
AI is a huge enabler. I think once we sort of establish that, that's it.
Enabler, complementing, and I would say start with inclusivity, scale with intelligence. Thank you.